Weird. A happy Thanksgiving 17 years later. When Planet Terror and Death Proof came out 17 years ago, as old as my son is now. He just turned 17. There was this amazing trailer by Massachusetts local native filmmaker Eli Roth called Thanksgiving, and he promised that one day we will see that. I think, other than Machete, it's the only of those Grindhouse trailers we have ever seen brought to life. Rob Zombie has always hinted that he'll do his Werewolf Women of the SS, but in the meantime, we have Thanksgiving, and it's almost like everything we saw in the original trailer, just less 70s Grindhouse, and the way the cheerleader dies is not quite like it is in that original trailer. But I digress. Still a lot of fun as well. This was a great slasher movie. We haven't had a holiday themed slasher movie in a while, if I can remember correctly, other than there's a kind of a crappy independent Hanukkah movie. If one day they'll do a big budget Hollywood Hanukkah movie, it'll be awesome. I tried watching that independent Hanukkah movie. It's not that great, but this Thanksgiving movie is a lot of fun. Eli Roth delivers. I'm not entirely sure exactly where it was filmed. I have lived through that Black Friday experience. Not quite as horrible as that. I don't know if Katie has. Um, I've had to deal with. I know you have like nieces and nephews. You said right? You don't have any kids.
Yeah, I have nieces,
Never.
I have nephews and nieces that are I mean, from friends, so they're practically nieces. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you've never had to experience like the toy Black Friday nonsense, right?
No,
Yeah,
which I never will. No.
that's a joy every parent has to experience at least once in their life. Now, as let's say our children and our nieces and nephew become our age, Katie, they might not experience that the way the brick and mortar stores are lately. I don't know if you heard, Best Buy is doing away with physical media next year, and everyone's like, at the same time, Oppenheimer director Christopher Nolan's just like, buy the Blu-ray, buy the 4K, buy the DVD. I'm working extra hard to give you bonus material. This is a film I will be buying when it comes on physical media. I hope we get an Eli Roth commentary on it because I absolutely think he's a brilliant filmmaker when it comes to talking about films. He's on a commentary with this movie with Jack Black, and it's a lot of fun, let me tell you. So that's The House with the Clock in Its Walls. But I digress. What did you think of Thanksgiving?
So, Thanksgiving. Am I a fan of the original trailer? You could say, talk about physical media. When they came out with the physical media, I actually bought each of these because I was hoping that the trailers would be in it, or are on either, because that was one of my favorite parts of the movie going experience. Like, I saw the Grindhouse film in the theater, core memory, loved every bit of it, ended up getting the Blu-ray, and all that stuff. And I even kept the Entertainment Weekly that had the Grindhouse on there. Yes, that is from March 30th, 2007. So
Oh,
16 years ago.
who's the girl next to Rose McGowan in that?
That's Rosaria Dawson.
Okay, because it almost reminded me of the fact that, again, as I said, my son just turned 17 years old, right? So 17 years old, appreciate probably that kind of cover. And I'm not even kidding. When he was less than 1 years old, he took a picture with the crazy babysitter twins from Planet Terror. They're holding him up, giving him kisses, cuddling in their arms against their breasts and everything, like really kind of giving him all sorts of squishy love or whatever. I've got like tons of photos of him like that. I'm like, when 17 years, I will show you these photos of you and these two amazing Brazilian bombshells. And
Yeah.
so that just
It's
reminded me, I have to show my son the photos of him and the babysitter twins from Planet Terror.
It's 2007, so 16 years. Grindhouse, this whole thing came out.
I think
As
those are the
Chris said,
cousins actually of Robert Rodriguez, aren't they?
what?
I think those were the cousins of Robert Rodriguez.
Probably the what's it call it twins? I
Yep.
believe so. You can probably look it up on IMDb. They have that thing. But yeah, so as you know, most of us were looking forward to Thanksgiving. This is one of those trailers that, I mean, it was monumental. Like, it's absolutely hilarious. It had the grittiness. It had the 70s grindhouse. It had even that voiceover that was great. Did the feature have the same aspect to it? No. The killings, yes. It is a carnage of cornucopia, finger looking good horror. Let me tell you, has a nice little message about capitalism with a Black Friday massacre that happens, all about the ridiculousness of how that is and how we should be with family. And then a year later, a killer that's dressed as John Carver, that's in Plymouth, does it set in Plymouth, Massachusetts. He starts taking his revenge. Now,
Massachusetts
the
represent with the
stars.
serial killers.
Yep, Patrick Dempsey, Gina Gershon. I wrote down because I didn't know Rick
Wait,
Hoffman, who is a staple in Eli Roth films. You'll see him in almost every one that he's done. Milo
did you say
Manheim,
Patrick
Addison
Dempsey?
Rae, and then I actually want to include the accent, the Massachusetts accent, because honestly, that is so thick in the film that if you're not expecting it, it is somewhat comical because it is very much like the SNL skit with Jimmy Fallon and Rachel Dratch. But yeah, it actually has, I figure it's kind of like its own entity in itself. I thought this was a great movie. I wish it was as gritty, as a little bit grittier. And I wish it did have some of that, stuff that was in the original Grindhouse trailer. However, 2007 is a different time in the world, and especially in the world that was dealing with Quentin Tarantino, Eli Roth, and Robert Rodriguez. Number of producers that we shall not name who are scumbags that may have been involved in this film. In the trailer and in those films. I believe the reason why they wanted to get away from that is to get away from that kind of stigma and taste in your mouth. That's fine. I'm not anything that was a little bit different from the trailer's feature. It's not like it's gonna kill me, like, oh, I'm gonna make a big deal about it. The kills were amazing. The lines were just I don't want to be 50% off and stuff like that. Some of these lines that were in the film, I have to give credit to the actors because that had to have been hard to get out because one, they are hilarious when you listen to them, but they said it with such gusto and seriousness that it's like, kudos to you, guy. I like the fact that the high schoolers actually kind of look like high schoolers. There was basically besides the kills, this is kind of a PG-13 film. I mean, usually when I think of like, especially with Eli Roth, he has definitely calmed down some of the aspects of his film, which is, a lot of nudity and gratuitousness. This is not one of those films. And even for a horror film, this was very subdued. But the kills were mwah, too sweet. Honestly, I was ready for seconds after I got done with this film. I hope there's going to be a sequel, and they kind of set it up for one. I have to give them credit. One of the things that I have complained about with horror films in the past few years is you have like 5'2" people who ends up being like, oh, they're the killer. But then when you see the killer like that's killing people, and because they're all masked up, they're like 6'8". This was kind of a reverse of that. The person who played John Carver definitely seemed way shorter. I know why they did that as a misleading aspect of it, which is fine. Did the reveal the killer, was that such a big reveal that I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't see? No, not really. But fine by me. I thought it had kind of that like My Bloody Valentine sort of reveal to it, which I actually really liked. Yeah, I dug this film. I thought it was fun. It was funny. It had, again, the kills and the effects were great. The acting was solid for a horror film. I like the stars that you see that you're familiar with. And I have to also give credit to that damn high school because it had the best makeup and hair department that I've ever seen. I don't know if that's supposed to show like a high school, like, people are going on to do, be beauticians or hairstylists, stuff like that, go into the arts and stuff like that. But the high school that they shot it in and the department there, nicely done. Way to go, Mass. Yeah, I would say see this film. I would see it twice. I would actually go when I go home for Thanksgiving, you know, I may take my nephews to see it because I dug it and I thought it was a great time.
Um, Patrick Dempsey now carrying a honorary title from People's Magazine this year, Sexiest Man of the Year, which was like, this is the film he puts out after getting that. I thought that was very funny. Not that it's a terrible movie, but let's just face it, when you think of Sexiest Man of the Year, it's usually not connected to the new horror movie now in theaters today. You know, usually something in their past, like Matthew McConaughey has been People's Sexiest Man of the Year, and his horror movie was from the 1990s. I just thought that was very hilarious. I was just like, Patrick Dempsey's in this movie. Very funny. I don't know what he's doing these days to be the sexiest man of the year. Gina Gershon, it was nice to see her return. Last thing I'd seen her in was, of course, Riverdale, where she's Jughead's mother on that. um, I hope this opens up a slew of Thanksgiving horror movies. Probably not all directed by Eli Roth, of course, but don't regulate it to the DVD Netflix market right away. I want to see 14 of these films. We have 13 Halloween movies. We have 12 Friday the 13th. We have 11 Nightmare on Elm Streets. We have uh, four, five, six, seven Chucky films. We have 11 Hellraiser movies. You're telling me Thanksgiving can't get 10 sequels in the next 20 to 30 years that we care to watch them, then I digress. What's next? Hanukkah deserves its own horror movie. Mother's Day deserves its own horror movie. Yes, there's a Mother's Day movie, but a Mother's Day slasher movie. We need a slasher movie for each one of these holidays. The turkey scene I thought was fantastic in this film. I think that I didn't really care about a lot of these characters as much as I thought I was going to, with the exception of a couple of them. I did love the dynamic of the slightly middle class family versus the incredibly rich family's Thanksgiving and how they compare to each other, and the boss is the one or the other. That was very ingenious. The mystery, the subterfuge, all reminded me of like I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is funny when we get to our next movie that we're going to review. But I Know What You Did Last Summer's ending, Nightmare on Elm Street's ending. Here's my biggest problem with this movie: the ending of this movie, the last second shot of the movie, the last 5 second shot of the movie sucks. It's just as bad as a lot of other horror movies that don't know how to end their movie. Otherwise, it's studio interference being like, oh, you got to do this like Jason jump scare thing, even though it's not real. I hate that. Nightmare on Elm Street, again, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I still Know What You Did Last Summer did that. For whatever dumb fucking reason, the Scream movies keep having Ghostface show up in the last second just before they cut to credits. We're like, did we forget who the fucking killer was? God, stop doing that. Just have Sydney or whoever it is in the newest Scream one will walk off into the sunset to the reporters. Just end the movie. You don't need to do this last minute like ah. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. And maybe I need to ask filmmakers when I have them on the show, like to explain that to me. Is it a studio thing or is it your thing? But I digress. I want to see killer pilgrim costumes everywhere. NECA Toys has a John Carver action figure coming out soon. If you know anything about them, they put out all of the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street versions of Freddy and Jason, and several of the Halloween Michael Myers. I don't think they've gotten them all, but I think they've gotten most of them, as well as a couple Ghostface and other slasher characters. So kudos to them. They're getting on top of this John Carver action figure immediately. Um,
Oh, one
I
note, horror legend Lynn Griffin is in this. You know, make sure to find her. She is best known for Strange Brew, Black Christmas, and Curtains. She's fantastic, and that's a nice little, you know, nod to classic horror films and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like the mask for John Carver definitely could be something that we see, you know, for years to come. It's classic. It looks great. Anyone can wear it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm ready for the sequel.
Also called so far the best reviewed movie of Eli Roth's career. Probably do believe that based on his output of films. I've seen Cabin Fever. I liked it, but I don't need to revisit it. I don't need to revisit the Hostel Part 1 and 2. Um, House of the Clock on the Walls. I only happen to pull it out because it's in the bookcase next to me. I showed it to my son because he read the book that it's based on by John Belair's. Um, you know, it's its own film and it's all right. But I definitely can believe this is his probably best reviewed movie of the year. I love listening to Eli Ross podcast. I mean, Massachusetts native local boy, set here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Go to Plymouth, lovely town. You will not be murdered by a serial killer in a John Carver mask. Don't worry. Just don't do anything stupid like in a slasher movie that would get you killed. I digress. Um,
Is the accent as thick in the film? Because
some
that was one of the things that it's like,
yes,
honestly, it was just so
yes.
like, man, is it really that thick?
Sometimes some people you
Okay.
talk to,
In
they
Plymouth?
sound like they're all from Southie.
Okay.
It's ridiculously awful sometimes, and I can't tell. And I have a couple of people I work with that are like with a thick accent sometimes, and I'm just like, oh my god, you are just like this. If you remember that movie with Mark Wahlberg, The Fighter, and he's got like his all his sisters. There was like an article. One of them was complaining that the actress didn't sound as like she was from Southie like she is, and she didn't appreciate it. It's like that's not the way I sound. It was really like heavy on that. The Green Book, a lot of people in that movie with their Italian stereotypes, with Viggo Mortensen and Linda Cardellini's family. I know it's in New York, but it could be from Southie, from Boston. It's just that similar sometimes.
Well, I
But
know,
I
and
digress.
the town always had, when I always think of like a Boston accent, I always think of the town, which I
Yes,
think
yes,
uh does a great job of doing that. But yeah,
exactly,
this
exactly.
again, I felt like the accent definitely is like its own character and had to be noted.
Absolutely, absolutely. Go see Thanksgiving while it's in theaters. Support this film. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It was just a lot of fun. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. I didn't get disappointed in really anything other than what I complained about with uh the last shot of the film. The credits are also really cool, really well stylized. I thought that was really nice. And it's again
And
nice to have a holiday horror movie that's not Halloween or Christmas. Because let's face it, those
and
two are getting oversaturated.
in the credits, he gives thanks to Tarantino and Rodriguez, which is nice. I stayed for the credits and I took a little snapshot of that and posted it on my social media pages.
I think the other Grindhouse trailer I want to see turned into a movie besides Rob Zombie's Werewolf Women of the SS, and Rob Zombie will do it exactly like that trailer with Fu Manchu, Nicolas Cage, is What? I think that was another trailer that I would love to see.
Don't,
Don't. That's what it was. Don't.
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 Yes.
So, but go watch the trailer. Check out the rest of the reviews here this holiday season here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel with Katie the Blonde in front of here. We've got some interesting holiday films coming up. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Like, subscribe, and comment. And we will catch you guys next holiday.